Hi, it's Kev here, back for part 2. So, part 1, I hope you've seen it before. Season 1, Cambridge 17, test number 3 about average expenditure in a household. So, I showed the sample before. I'll show it again when we have finished this one. That's it there. And I've just got to quickly, again, under pressure, students coming in 13 minutes this time. This is basically why, when people in the group keep on asking, why haven't you done a video, etc., because I've got at least 8 hours of contact time with students a day. So this is basically why. So we've looked at the first 3, it should be. Looked at that one, number 1, number 2, number 3, I'm looking at number 4 and 5. So the main thing is, sorry, the overview doesn't clearly identify the key trends or features. That is basically the same mistake that everyone is making today in these writings. You're not clearly showing what's going up, what's going down, what's not changing. Out of the categories, how many are going up? So there's like 5 that goes up, and there's only 3 that goes down. So it's in general, it's a rising trend. That kind of thing. That's what you've got to do and talk about. Okay. So the chart compares the percentage of expenditure in different categories in one country. Okay. So usually you all get the introductions good, but then it's the overview. What are those key sort of trends? So there's one piece of information there. Now, usually there's only 3, maybe 4 key trends, and it's the broad picture. That's what the criteria calls for, the broad picture. If there's 8 and 5 out of the 8 go up, that's a key trend. If only 2 go down, 1's unchanged, that's it. 3 key features. That's it. That's all that you have to do. Simply identify those. And that's what this one fails to do also. Weekly revenue. Well, revenue is that which comes in. So that doesn't even work. It's what goes out. Expenditure. So how much income do they spend? And they don't supply food. They're purchasing food. So you've got synonyms that don't work or that don't mean what you think they do. But you've only got one thing. What's the general thing? What's the general trends? It's just not there. Families did disperse. You mean they spent? 50% weekly revenue, income, and on. A provision of food. You mean simply on food. They spent it on food, not the provision. They weren't providing it to anybody. They weren't supplying it to anybody. They weren't being supplied with food. Don't keep using all these synonyms that are not appropriate. You'll be losing marks, not gaining them. So they were spending money on food. Okay. What's this 1986? You mean 1968, presumably. Figure was half 18, 10%. So again, we're not really making comparisons. I mean, let's have a look. Let me get it out again. Where did I put it? 17 academic. Boom. So here it says, summarize information, selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where or if relevant. So that's what these are not doing. At least this current one, that's not what it's doing. Main features. Well, you can see that's more. So you've got increase. So hang on, what is it? So 1968. Yeah. So you got a decrease, and you got increase, and 1 unchanged. That's the key features. You're comparing. In this year it was this, however in this year it was that. That's what you've got to do. Comparisons. So it's not the same cost in okay. And 152 words, that's pretty sparse. Most people do at least 180 or 90, even 200 words. The more detail you can include, the higher your task achievement score. So 152 is barely scraping it. And this final one, just have time for. Chart illustrates the amount of earned money, which was spent weekly, 8 different categories by families or a family. So now that's better. Okay. Overall picture readily apparent. Readily apparent. Food and leisure generally have the highest fraction. Fraction, you mean percentage, it's not a fraction. Despite the share of fuel and power was the lowest in goods, was on the same level with fuel and power. Again, it's not identifying the key, the big picture. Out of the thing, out of the 8, 5 went up or down, 3 went down or up. 1. That's the key features. That's what it's talking about. You have to mention those. Then, what's the biggest? What's the smallest? I mean, we can see biggest expenditure in 1968 was food, and the lowest was on fuel and power. Biggest and smallest. In 2018, biggest was on leisure, and the smallest was on fuel and power. Again. So they're the biggest and smallest, but in general, how many went up and down? What's the key? So again, I keep saying the same word. Key, main, not little details. That's not what they want at all, for the overview, at least. In the beginning year, you mean in 1968. Food ranked just over a third. A third of what? A third of the total. What's the data? What's the percentage? Figures and data. That's what you need to paragraph 3 and 4. Portion of housing with clothing and footwear by a 10th. What does that mean? By a 10th, equally ranked second? Alright, so always went for this one decline merely. Merely? So you mean a little or slightly over 15%. Costless category, 7 periods was leisure, so doubled again. How much? What's the figures? What's the data? So you can see. Let's have a look at mine. Right. So this is how I would approach it. You need to organize your information in a logical way. So introduction first. The chart shows blah 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 blah. That's what most of you got. Okay, that's good. Then what most of you missed was a clear overview. Overall, it can be seen expenditure on this, and this went down. The opposite was true for the rest, but went up, save one that was unchanged. Out of all the categories, the biggest was in food. However, in 2018, it was leisure and housing. That's it. 1968, figures and data. 2018, figures and data. It fell to this, percent. This is what you've got to do, figures and data. So, I'll leave this on the screen. You can take a look at it. I hope it helps. I've posted Cambridge 17 test number 4, writing task 1 in the group. I'll be waiting for you to write your responses to that. I'll probably do a video for that maybe tomorrow. Wednesday we'll see how it goes with all the lessons. Anyway, so key thing to take away from this and video 1 is organize your information appropriately and get the overview. Those main features, those key trends, that's key. A lot of people get poor scores because they get a low score for task achievement, mainly because the overview they don't do as they should. So, very important component of writing task 1. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.